am the real voice. I cry out in everyone, and they know that a seed dwells within. I am the voice. It is I who speak within every creature. Now I have come a second time in the likeness of a female and have spoken with them. I have revealed myself in the thought of the likeness of my masculinity.
Hello and welcome to the Women's Network. I'm Elke and I'm your host. Well, there she was, my wonderful, exciting guest. Her name is Beata Pozniak. And I'm promising you this is a very exciting and wonderful show to look forward to. Just the other day, I was looking through the newspaper and I saw this great article taking up the banner for women everywhere. And I kept on reading about this fascinating woman that is involved in bringing the International Women's Day to the United States all the way via Poland. Well, needless to say, I couldn't help it, but I had to call the staff writer of our newspaper and ask whether there was some way that I could contact this very fascinating woman I wrote about. And he got me in touch with my guest of today, Beata Pozniak. And let me welcome to Beata. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
So good to have you here. I'm telling you, when I saw this article in the paper, it was like something I had to talk about. And thank you for coming.
Gosh, thank you so much for having me.
Tell me, I mean, there's so much in this article, and in the meantime, I've gotten to know you a little bit. I cannot tell the audience what you are all about. You are, as we said earlier, there are so many commas in between.
Right.
You are an actress. You are also a poet. You are a writer. You are a sculptor. You are. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself before we get into the show, so that they know who you are?
Who am I? I'm still figuring out myself. Well, International Women's Day. When I came to this country a few years ago, and I asked people how do they celebrate International Women's Day, which is always every year on March 8th. And it seems like people didn't know what I'm talking about. So I decided to do some more research and contact other women's groups and political groups. And still, I didn't find any answers. And I was a little bit surprised because it's celebrated all over the world. The day was actually formed in Copenhagen in 1913 by the Congress. And since that day, it's been celebrated all over the world, from Finland, England, Germany, China, Australia, you name it. So it's officially on the national calendar. So after getting all this information, I decided to approach, at that time, Mayor Bradley. And so it was so wonderful and supportive. And he said, my gosh, how about we introduce and have a resolution for this day? And then after that, I approached Governor Wilson, and he declared it for the state of California. And now, working with Congresswoman Maxine Waters for the last few years, she introduced the bill in Congress and Senate, and for the first time, it passed. So
this
now,
just happened,
this
right?
just happened, yes, and now the next step is for the president to sign the bill, and hopefully we'll have it on the national calendar. And actually, what's interesting, now, the reason it is important, the day was formed in the time where women did not have a right to vote. or
that goes way back.
way back. Well, even 100 years ago, women were not allowed to study, get a degree,
Right.
go to university, belong to libraries or unions, but especially with a right to vote. When you think about that, the first country that gave women right to vote was New Zealand in 1893. Then Australia, 1902, Russia, 1917, England and Poland, 1918, the States, 1920.
And look we're taking it for granted.
But
We're
you know
taking
what?
it for granted.
Wait, but women in Switzerland, 1971, that recent.
Oh, God.
So I think that's the reason to have this day, and that's why it is important, because symbolically this day is to have a voice for women and raise awareness what's been happening with women all over the world. And I do remember being, because I spent my first 10 years in England and then in Poland, the media would cover, that would be on the headlines, how would women celebrate in Finland or in Russia or in Germany? And it was actually very powerful to see and learn about other cultures, and which I thought is very important.
Let me back up just a bit. You are so involved in it, which I think is absolutely fabulous. And that it takes someone like you, again, and a lot of other women, to push something like that, and then consequently we all can enjoy the benefits, hopefully. But like I said, let's back up a little bit and go back to you. What was so important for you to get involved in this? And can we go back a little bit? How did you even get involved in it? I mean, I know you were still in Poland at the time. What was the occurrence, or what prompted you to? Did you have sisters? Your mother had something to do with it, or what prompted you to even get started in something very important, some heavy subject, and then keep going? So tell me about the beginning on your part.
What prompted me? I think I would like to find out myself. Well, it's a good question. I think, yes, I did have a very strong mother, and it was always important to, at home, I remember, to talk about different issues, but also more important, school education. On March 8th, we would learn in school. That day would be basically dedicated to the history of women. Mm-hmm. And it was a day to be proud to be a woman. And we got respect from boys at that time, because school was about giving a flower to a girl and giving her a card. And just so it was about teaching respect. But what is more important, I think, the message that International Women's Day has is peace. And I think it's something that I've been thinking about a lot, and also like when I think about the conference in Beijing, China, it's a miracle that it happened, having millions of women around the world talking about their issues and their struggles still for justice and equality, and I think thinking about barriers that we still have.
Right, but to create, the way I see it, to create this International Women's Day, which will happen once a year. It's like our holidays, including Mother's Day, Father's Day. So he will have a Women's Day, which I think is almost either more important or just as important as having these women conferences that, for instance, the one you just mentioned just went on in Beijing. If you're aware of, people are made aware of once a year of this Women's Day, to make them aware that we're there, we exist, we are moving forward, we have a voice, we are bodies, we are human beings. I think that is quite an accomplishment.
Oh, well, that's why I created actually a show that I produce every year, which is honoring women from different walks of life. Right. And so like in one room I would have an Asian, a Latina, an African American, an Eastern European, a Canadian, Indian. I mean, just so wonderful to learn about other cultures. And I think what's interesting that we live in a time when there's a lot of fear, especially to another being, if it's a different color or accent, and we are, for some reason, we are afraid. And I think that will break the barrier if we learn about each other and about our backgrounds and cultures. And that's why I think this day is important.
It's the International Women's Day. Exactly.
Yeah, especially for women.
Yeah. Did you go to Beijing?
No, unfortunately not. But I had many women friends that were there and shared the experience.
Okay, let's get back to the Women's Day in a little while. Let's talk a little bit about you as the other person, which entails being an actress, being a poet, being a writer, being a sculpturist. Let's talk a little bit about being the actress. I mean, when did you start to be acting? When you were a little child, or back in here when you came to the United States? Or?
No, I always knew I want to be an actress. Always.
You were
that
the
was a
child
given.
actress.
Yes, this little girl with freckles and red hair. You know, it's like. But I always was in different films in Poland. I went first to the film school in Lodz. And then after that, actually it's a coincidence that I'm here in the United States because I came here with a film of mine, Andrzej Wajda's film, Chronicle of Love Affairs, and it was just a time when the borders just opened in Poland. So once I came here for the festival, I just loved it. The people were so nice and I felt really welcomed. Yeah. So the film went back. I stayed. And immediately after that, I got an offer from Oliver Stone to play Marina Oswald in JFK, and that was my start.
But how did Oliver Stone get a hold of you, or how did this all happen?
I think also it's
Oliver Stone is not just somebody sort of fly by night.
Well, actually I was very impressed because Oliver is.
Did you hear about him in Poland?
Oh my gosh! Of course. Who would? I mean, he's like yes, absolutely.
Silly
Who
question.
wouldn't? No,
sorry.
but
sorry, Oliver.
But I know one thing that. I was so honored when I met with him and so impressed because he knew every single film that Andrzej Wajda produced. He would talk about scenes and about Cybulski, which is our main character. He was like a Polish James Dean. That's how you would refer to him. I would really be impressed with his knowledge, and that's how it all started.
Well, I know you have a film clip for us from JFK. Can you lead us into the clip a little bit so when we see it, we know what's going on?
Sure. What was interesting, when I got the script, there were like 2 lines there, and it was Marina and Lee having a fight, ad lib, or Marina and Lee at a party, ad lib. So I spent a lot of time with Marina Oswald. I went through 26 volumes of Warren Commission, read every single Newsweek, Time magazine, every single thing I could get a hold of. And then I met with her many times and actually ended up living with her. So that was easier for me to observe her and see who she is. So we would, with Gary had a similar situation because it was everything ad lib, so we would compare notes and meet and write it. So next day, Oliver would come in and say, okay, show me. So I would come in and exactly what I saw on the footage from the clips, from the interviews that she had, I would exactly copy that, the way she would walk or her different accent, of course, because she was from Archangels. And then, so this would be our improv in front of Oliver, basically.
Okay. All right. But we are ready, if everybody else is ready.
Что? Будешь мне бить, да? Ну что? Я тебя люблю, Алка. А ты меня нет, да?
Нет.
Нет, что нет?
No, Alka, come. Alka was there. You are here now, Marina. You are in the United States. I am Lee Harvey here.
But you never wanted me speaking, learning English, да?
Here. You are here now in the United States.
But you never want me learning English, never want me go work, you never want me go out.
I want you
alone here.
to stay here with the children.
I like a dog, like a...
You are not a daughter. Do not treat you like a dog. Marina,
I'm lost, like in
you are not lost. I give you freedom. You have friends here.
I love them. There's no money here. Nothing you go out and buy rifle.
I have certain things here, Marina. I have told you I have a certain life. If you can't understand that.
Why do you stop?
Ruth, would you please keep out of this? Please stay there, please. For Christ's sake. Marina.
Stop. No, stop. Are you ashamed that you...
Russian.
Are you ashamed that you married a Russian?
I am not ashamed. I want to marry. Well, I thought I married a lady. Yeah, that's it. Come on, hit me, yes. I thought I married a lady. You're acting like a peasant.
So this is my American dream, da? Yeah, I came here. I could have stayed in Russia, you know.
Well, why don't you stay in Russia? Why didn't you go back to Russia? I'll stay here with the children. I stay here with the children. You go back to Russia, huh? This is what you want to do, huh?
Oh, boy, there was some acting job. That was quite something. I'm sure you had to really live into that role. You had to really prepare yourself for it. And you said you lived with Marina for 3 months?
2 months, yes.
Was she an easy person, or was
She was wonderful. She's actually, she was very cooperative, and I was very impressed with her as a woman, as a mother of 3 children, and it was very refreshing because we could recite, I don't know, poetry by Pushkin
Russian,
and Lermontov, and yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm happy I've seen that clip and your acting ability and seeing you in it. But tell me a little bit more about your other talents, I would say, like you write, or in fact you have a theater company. Tell me about your theater company.
Well, other things. I think I just see myself as a person that constantly is searching and learning, and I'm still very open to anything that will be in front of me, if it's art or performance art, because I do sculpt, I paint. Actually, in the painting that we see here with a woman, that's something that I created especially for International Women's Day.
Yeah, maybe we can refer to the picture. We see it right there on the monitor. Maybe you can explain it a little bit.
Yeah, it's in a woman's body, different races of women from all over the world, and different flags, and when you look at the face, it's the face of the world right now. And actually, you can see actually my little portrait which is like in the neck almost, and the breasts are like flowers and the children, and the chalice is the symbol, which is the womb, and the number 8 is something that is endless, and also March 8th. So, and for me, it was very important because what's happening right now in the world, it constantly, the borders keep changing. Like my mother was born in Vilnius, and then it became, which was at that time Poland, then it became Russia, now it's Lithuania. So it's just interesting what's happening in the world, and I called it Mnemosyne, which is from Greek mythology. She was married to Zeus, and she was the mother of all muses. Mnemosyne, it's memory, and
so you actually created the...
That's right, especially for International Women's Day.
That is
so anyway, come back, it's like finding a new voice within myself, who I am today as a woman, as an artist.
Unfortunately, our audience cannot see the details, but it's so detailed. It's just unbelievable what you've done and what you've put together as a thought. Terrific. Well, like I said, a woman of many, many talents. So, what is your next? What is your next step, either as the actress or, like I keep mentioning, you're a writer? What is your next step, maybe in the field of going on the International Women's Day?
Well, right now, I formed the U.S. Committee for International Women's Day, and I'm working with other organizations that endorsed me, and that's the Rock the Vote, Show Coalition, Commission on the Status of Women, Hollywood Political Women's Committee, and I form an advisory board, and I'm very honored to have the support. And on the board, Alfie Woodard, Holly Hunter, Gaylan Hurd, and of course Congresswoman Maxine Waters, that I just so appreciate, because she was the one that said, gosh, we have to do it, how could we omit it? And it's so important, and she's really fighting for it, and it's very important to her as well. So I feel very lucky and blessed that I'm surrounded by good people and strong women. So hopefully it will happen.
What a support group. What a support group. So
it takes time. It takes time.
I know it takes time, but you've been on pretty much of a hike there. You've really accomplished quite a bit.
I'm still learning. It's a wonderful process, because I'm learning about this country much more, and that's another surprise for myself by even doing this and being involved. And what a learning experience to just work with Washington and politicians and really talk to women's organizations and on women's issues, women's rights, and we need that more and more. So it's so great to have a day, to have that voice.
Well, about four years ago, our last elections, we had quite a lineup of women getting into politics. First time ever that we had that many women running and actually making it into. Not enough.
Yes.
It'll probably never really be enough as far as we can see right now. But I think to have someone like you and to have your support system like Maxine Waters and so on, and all these other great people that you mentioned, I think maybe that will tell even like our audience, everybody can get involved. So what do you think? What do women have to do to get involved in what you're doing? Can they jump on your bandwagon and come along with it? And what do they need to do? By the way, to my audience, if you want to know more about Beata Pozniak and her cause, please call the number at the end of the show, and you can get all the information you need, and anything you need to know about this show. So please call the number at the end of the show. But again, Beata, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about, because we only have about 3 minutes or 5 minutes, what can be done, or what can women do to join you, or to do on their own?
Oh, thank you for asking. Now I'm in the process of forming this U.S. Committee for International Women's Day, and it'll be lovely to have the support by joining the organization. So when they call you, by that time we'll have, if they would like to sign on, and by that I will get back to them, and absolutely we appreciate to have that support.
Well, we always have to think about what has it done so far. I mean, women have come a long way. I always call it the decade of the women, at least this last decade. We have come a long way, even though we mentioned earlier voting. We weren't able to vote until 1909. Was it 1909?
We meaning
here,
Germany,
right?
or Poland, or America?
Let's talk on this. Was Susan B. Anthony, 1929, right? Wasn't it?
United States, 1920.
Yeah. 20. So I mean, that's only about 70 years, but yet we're going on a strong hike, as I said earlier, and I'm so glad to hear from you, especially having knowledge of other countries doing this sort of thing. And I think maybe that's where the strength lies as well, because you've seen other nations excel in this cause. So glad to have you here. But again, tell the audience a little bit about more so than what organizations are there to contact, or we have a couple minutes left. Or
Organizations for Women's Day, or
what is your organization?
The U.S. Committee for International Women's Day, and that'll be officially announced also in the press, and would like to get many women and men involved.
Right.
And usually when I produce every year the annual event, The last one, for example, was lovely because we honored Jan Chapman, the producer of the piano, Doris Leader Charge, which is the translator of Dances with Wolves and as an American Indian. Also, Dolores Huerta, what a wonderful, powerful woman that took over for Cesar Chavez, and a mother of 11 children. And so it can happen.
Right.
A strong woman. You can be a mother and you can be a leader at the same time. It's lovely. I had Miranda Richardson reading poetry, Stevie Wonder singing, and that's what it's all about, to join men and women to celebrate and learn about each
glad
other.
you're saying men and women, because
absolutely,
I think
it's about balance and understanding
we're
each
all
other.
involved.
It's
We're
about
all
equality too.
It's an understanding between everyone.
That's
Great.
right.
Quickly,
Message is
what's
peace.
up for you? What's up for you? Other life.
Other life.
What are you looking? Are you involved in
Sounds like
another
reincarnation.
film or a TV show, or where can we see you?
Absolutely, always, always. I'm always
I know you
involved
were
in
on
something.
Melrose Place.
Melrose Place, yes, I was a
Indiana
few months on.
Jones, and is there anything you're working on right now, or you're on hiatus? Or
No, what I'm doing.
you're too involved with the Women's Day.
I'm involved in many projects and developing by myself a couple of projects, feature films that will be co-productions between Europe and United States. The next immediate project is I'm going to have a one-woman show at Raleigh Studios.
Great.
And this is, I'll be showing my work as an artist, and also I'll be making it's really contemporary masks.
Right.
And the show is called Masks of Discord. It's just like my company, Theatre Discordia, where I do performance art shows. So everything is Discordia right now for me in today's world, because anything goes, and that's what Discordia means for me.
Anything goes. I'm glad you ended up with that note. To my audience, again, I want to say thank you for watching us, and to Beata Pozniak, thank you so much for being here. It was great. It was really terrific, especially the cause you're with the International Women's Day.
Thank you.
And I hope we see you in film, television, on stage, wherever. And please keep up the great work. And maybe in a year or so, we'll talk again and see what we have accomplished.
Thank you. My message is peace.
Okay, great. And to my audience, one more time, thank you so much for joining us, and please come again.
I am the real voice. I cry out in everyone, and they know that a seed dwells within. I am the voice. It is I who speak within every creature. Now I have come a second time in the likeness of a female and have spoken with them. I have revealed myself in the thought of the likeness of my masculinity.